I'm Robert Barton, and I'm doing a speech on listening on Chapter 4 of the speech curriculum. So, there's a big difference between listening and hearing, and what listening involves more like understanding and getting like depth of like what they're talking about. So instead of like listening to like music, for the surface level stuff, listening involves depth. So like you get to like understand and respond to what someone else is saying. So I'm gonna be showing um, you the 5 principles of listening, like active listening and being effective in that. So the first tip is receiving. So this is a lot where it has to do with like, okay, so you hear something and that's in your ear, and that's similar to hearing and listening, is to where first, before like someone speaks, you have to receive it, but you're not only receiving their words, but you're also receiving their inflections and the way they're talking, as well as their body language and how they're presenting what they're speaking, so we can get a more understanding of what they mean. So I have a video prepared for showing like the importance of someone's body language and their tonalities and how it can change what they mean. And this is a video of a child, like a 1-year-old, in their responsiveness to being an active listener. So if you're actively listening, it means that you're like paying attention and you're making gestures and then responding. But if you're not, and you just have a blank stare at a camera or like a person, you just stare at them, then a lot of times they don't feel like you're actually gaining anything from it, and so they feel like not valued. And the key part of being a good listener is to make sure that the other person feels valued in what they're saying. So this is a study done by a woman, or by a group of people who bring a woman in and her child in, and they see what the baby's response is whenever the mom isn't actively listening. So I'll cut to that.
In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby, who's about a year of age.
Are you my good girl? Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this, and then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, come on, why aren't we doing this? Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions, they turn away, they feel the stress of it. They actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh, yes. Oh, what a big girl.
Okay, so that video kind of explained how it is like to not be able to listen. Even though it's a child, we still feel the same emotions whenever someone isn't actively listening to us. So after after receiving, we have understanding. So this is a lot where it differs between hearing and listening, because we have to process what they're saying. So by understanding someone and what they're saying, we have to take into account, okay, what do they mean when they say this? And a lot of like, decoding per se, what they're meaning. So not only like saying, not only being able to recite exactly what they are saying, but also trying to, okay, why are they saying this? What are they trying to convey to me? And then if we don't understand what they're saying, it's always okay to ask for clarification from them, because that's another part of being a good listener, is being interactive. Because if they feel like they're, not reaching to you, it can be discouraging. So it's always good to understand, or try to be understanding as well of what they're saying. Because if we can't understand, if we're not trying to understand them, then there's really not much purpose. Sorry. Okay, so the next step is to remember. So it's always important to remember whatever they're saying before it's like your turn to talk again. And there's some good strategies for this, because if you forget what they're talking about whenever they first say it, sometimes it's like, okay, do you know what I'm saying? And then you can't communicate back. You can't form a response if you can't remember what they just said. So there's some good strategies for remembering depending on your situation. For example, like if you're in a business meeting, it might, like with a whole bunch of other people, it might be good to take notes. Or like in a class, if someone's talking, it might be good to take notes. Whereas if you're on a dialogue with just one person, it's good to take those mental notes. Okay, I need to remember this. It's good to not focus too much on these mental notes, because then sometimes we can only focus on like one thing they said. So stay open to other things, but also you need to remember what they're saying. So take mental notes or physical notes if you're able to. So the next step is to evaluate, because before we can form a response, we need to think, okay, why are they saying this? If they say something that might offend us, we might need to see, okay, what is their point of view of this? Because if they don't feel valued in their opinion, then they might start to get angry, something like that. Even if we don't think, even if we disagree with them, it's still important that that we see what they're saying. So this is probably one of the most important parts of listening, because it's crucial that we take the time to evaluate before we form a response, or else we're just like speaking to each other and no one's gaining anything. So evaluating what they're talking about is very important. Okay. So this is inflection. So this is like in a video, an example of inflection. So what is pretty cool, but he says the same sentence like over and over again, but depending on his body language and his and the way he pronounces like each syllable, he means something else. So even though like we might hear someone, we need to evaluate, okay, what are they doing with their body? What are they doing with their words? Like what words are they emphasizing? And so whenever you watch this video, pay attention to what hand gestures he uses and how he inflects on his words to say the same thing but mean something else.
Let's look at the following statement, I didn't say he stole the money, and see how it has different meaning depending on the inflection. I didn't say he stole the money infers that someone else said he stole the money. I didn't say he stole the money simply proclaims that you didn't say it. I didn't say he stole the money communicates that you communicated he stole the money in a manner other than verbal. I didn't say he stole the money. That's telling them that perhaps it was her or them that stole the money. I didn't say he stole the money. That emphasis communicates that perhaps he did something with the money other than steal it. Maybe he just borrowed it without permission. I didn't say he stole the money. The emphasis on the is communicating that you didn't say he stole that money, but perhaps other money. And finally, I didn't say he stole the money. That's communicating that you proclaimed he stole something other than the money.
Okay, so that video was very, very interesting, and okay, so that was a pretty cool video to see like how he can mean different things by saying the same thing. And so that's important whenever we evaluate someone's, when they're talking, you know, whenever we decide, okay, what are they trying to say? It's good to evaluate, okay, this is what they mean, you know, and we can tell this by their combination of gestures along with their voice. Sorry. Okay. And then last is responding. So responding doesn't always occur last. It can occur as you're doing it, as someone else is talking. And there's a difference between interrupting and responding, because a lot of times whenever someone talks, like we said before, like the mom staring at the baby, whenever she's not giving any response, it's hard to keep on talking, and it like on a job interview, if your person interviewing didn't give any response, it's a little bit difficult to keep on going. So and talking, because you feel discouraged. So it's good to encourage the other person whenever they're talking, and then that way we can that way they'll feel valued. And the main thing is to keep them feeling valued as they're talking and as you're listening. So also we respond afterwards. It's always good to respond with a question about it. So that's where remembering comes in. So if you like make a mental note of, okay, I need to ask them this question because this is like on the subject of what they're talking, and remember to say the things that they're interested in, not try to change the subject in your response to something that you're interested in, but talk about the things that that they said that they were interested in that goes with the topic. So it's important to have a good response to whatever they're saying as well. But it's okay to take your time to respond as well, because you don't want to say something that doesn't have any meaning, that doesn't contribute to what they're saying, and then it makes them feel less valued. So finally, I have some wrapping up points. Don't be a selfish listener. So don't just listen, to gain. Listen to make the other person feel valued. Think about the other person. So whenever you're talking, make sure that they're not feeling too discouraged whenever they're talking, and then make sure the other person feels valued. So you don't want to. That's the whole goal of listening, is not only just to get information for yourself, but also so that to make them feel, okay, someone's listening to me, someone's helping me. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation on Chapter 4 about listening, and I hope you learned something about listening. So thank you.